Hello and welcome. My name is Christopher Mark and I'm the founder of Vintality. We're going to be talking about our Fertbox fertilization system today, but before we get there, I'm going to share a short company overview, show you a teaser trailer on the Fertbox operating. We'll talk a little bit about the technical problems currently in vineyards and what our solution is, and then talk about the market opportunity and the future of the Fertbox and where we see this going. So Vintality, we're an operating company. So we have an actual operating consultancy doing precision viticultural services. This is things like drones, GIS, vineyard design and layout, much more. And what this does is this provides the revenue and ideas for the second prong of our company, and that is scalable R&D. Because of course, the challenge with a consultancy, it is very difficult and expensive to grow. So we see the opportunity for growth coming from tech that we're developing, like the Fertbox. And what happens is that we receive problems, pain points directly from our clients or challenges we see as we're operating in the space. And then we pull revenue from that side of the company. And really the key component, the real value, is the ideas and challenges we identify in vineyards that we are then bringing to develop new solutions for. So that's the Fertbox. We have a precision irrigation system we're really excited about. We just received a $200,000 grant more, and there's more tech further up the development chain. And just before I move on, I'll just say as well that everything I'm talking about, although we're vineyard focused, and that's where we have chosen to niche, pretty much everything we're talking about applies to fruit trees and as well select other crops. So this is not, while this is vineyard focused right now, there's other market opportunities. And we think our company is really well positioned given three major trends that are currently taking place in the vineyard industry. I'll leave tech innovation alone. I think it's fairly obvious. Climate we see, but I think for those outside the wine industry, it can be difficult to appreciate the scale. Here in BC, we've seen significantly declining yields for the last 2 years directly due to climate change, as some of you may have experienced. We've also seen in France, for example, they're estimated to lose $2 billion in wine sales in 2022 directly due to lost harvests. And just quickly on premiumization, this is a real big trend. You're seeing a lot of conglomeration around premium wine products. There's strong consumer demand from aging boomers, as well as from Gen Z and millennials who have a strong innate desire for more premium products. And also internally, there's a demand from the industry, within the industry itself, because of all the benefits of developing and selling premium products. And so we really feel that both as a company, but also with our Fertbox tech, it actually is well positioned to identify these three major trends that are developing. Here are some of our clients. I'm not going to spend much time on this. If you're like BC Wine, if you drink BC Wine, you'll recognize these are just some of the wineries we've worked with. There are many more and vineyards as well. And again, you can go onto our website, find a number of positive testimonials. I think this just, again, speaks to the reputation we have as a company and where people see and are excited in the industry for what we're doing. So I'm going to show you a short teaser trailer on the Fertbox, and then we'll be right back. So that was the Fertbox, and I'll explain a little bit about more what you saw in more detail. Just a quick note, one thing, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on some of these items, not because we don't have it. Again, we're happy to share more data, more of the opportunity and current challenges, just being respectful of everyone's time. I don't want to sit on all of this, going into all the detail we have that might be of interest to me, but not to everyone else who's looking at this as an outsider. So the problem that we're addressing, the technical problem, is kind of two-pronged. There just is no precision fertilization option for vineyards, and this also applies to most fruit tree systems. You see it in big ag. So if you're familiar with those big tractors, they have really precision dosing pumps. Fertilization currently exists in big ag, but it does not exist in the wine space, and that's because of a number of technical challenges around vine rows are actually very difficult, as we have discovered, to fertilize, but also the demands of each vineyard are very different, because you're not just trying to grow a tomato at a certain yield or a certain size. You're trying to grow grapes to very specific characteristics, and those characteristics vary from vineyard to vineyard, winemaker to winemaker. And so you need a solution that can work and be adjustable for all those different vineyards, different winemakers, etc. And the current two systems don't offer that. So the first major system is granular. Think when you're pushing on your lawn to fertilize, you've got that little spreader that kicks out little nodules or granules of fertilizer. That's what this is, just at a larger scale. There's a number of problems with it. The one advantage is often it usually is cheaper and it's very mechanical, so you can fix it, but you have no precision. It can be significantly inaccurate. It's even hard to track exactly how inaccurate it is. You can't really adjust. There are other problems I'm not even going to go into. We actually initially looked at trying to do a precision granular system. Our system is liquid fertilizer. We tried granular, and we just could not find any way to make it work. The other current option is what's called fertigation. It runs through a drip irrigation, which is those black lines you're seeing on the screen right now. You can only get to a block by block level. It is just not, it's already an incredibly expensive system to install, and it is just not feasible to install all the components you need to actually fertilize what you want where it is. So realistically, the most accurate that you can get to is fertilizing at a block level, or sometimes even just at a whole vineyard level. And you see a couple more of the challenges right there. So why this is a problem, I'm not going to get into each of these in detail. I'll just touch on two quickly. The first, again, is environmental. Nitrogen use, for example, fertilizer use in general, but nitrogen use specifically is probably the largest pollutant for most farms that are not ranches or not doing animal husbandry. It has a significant carbon cost, carbon emission byproduct, but also it pollutes waterways. And China is really experiencing this right now with, in general, fertilizer pollution, but especially nitrogen pollution, because it'll go right through the water table into your waterways. This is a problem in BC, where you're seeing farming and there's an over application. The second problem, which I don't think will be familiar to those that are not on the farming side, is balance. The number one request we get from our clients and potential clients is they want a more balanced vineyard. It is hard to precisely quantify this cost because it varies from vineyard to vineyard, but the costs are really significant when you think that you're going to be paying $80,000 vineyard manager or other workers, or you have a large number of farm laborers that are now having to do extra hours every day, or you're spending days a week just addressing the fact that different parts of the vineyard are ripening or having health issues, have different blights or viruses or whatever. And so this is actually, although it kind of seems simple, is the number one request, and actually one of the biggest benefits that vineyards see. And what we've heard from vineyards who have used our system is that it's helping them get towards a more balanced vineyard, which saves a lot of labor and time and costs. So our solution to those problems, it's the Fertbox. So you saw a little bit of this in the video. It's tractor pulled, dispenses up to 7 liquid fertilizers. So what you're seeing there is a main water tank with 7 liquid nutrient tanks, has its onboard algorithm, CPU, GPS, etc. And so what it does is it's fully automated. The driver just pulls this. So once you've set up the system, which you would just input kind of what you want to put where, we use soil data, but realistically, a vineyard can use any kind of data at once. NDVI, visual observations, just block by block level. And so you input that data and then the driver just has to drive. So there's no special training like you often require for foliar or other tractor pull systems. Literally, they just have to fill the tanks. If there's any sort of fault, he runs out of fertilizer, water, whatever, there's a fault light, they know it's there. And that tells them to go check out that something's not working. And so what this allows you to do is you can fertilize each vine at a vine by vine level. That is to say, you could give each vine in your vineyard its own custom blend of up to 7 nutrients. Every single one could receive a slightly different dose and rate of, this combination of nutrients. Here's just a few photos, Jan, just to give you a little bit of a different look at the system. I think the one on the right's a little funny. The system is so light you can actually mount it in the back of a pickup truck. And actually, when it's not loaded with fertilizer and water, you can actually lift it with your pinky finger. It's so well balanced and light, which means it's really portable, but also it is very durable. It is designed to get a little beat up in a vineyard, as happens with farming. So here are the benefits. Most of these are the opposite of the challenges we've talked about. And a lot of this actually is, this is not theoretical. This is what we're actually seeing in vineyards. And this is, most of these, 4 of these are direct things that vineyards have said to us. So everything I'm going to be talking about comes from actual operation in practicing vineyards, in operating vineyards. I'm going to be talking about research we're doing with UBC. That research is not in the lab. It is in operating vineyards. And again, I think one of the big things, two of the big things I'll just quickly hit on here are labor savings, because not just in terms of bringing more balance, but also the requirements and training you require for the driver to operate the system is actually much lower. And then also for premiumization, point number 7, you can be much more targeted in nutrients and applications that you're trying to get from your high quality fruit, or create more high quality fruit. And what we're seeing in general is that with increasing costs, fertilizer costs, etc., vineyards are much more willing to pay for premium and quality machinery that is precise in its application for both environmental and cost-saving reasons. So that's a bit of the technical solution. Again, if you require any more information, we're happy to chat. Can go into a lot more detail, provide more technical information, but that's a broad overview. So let's talk about the market. So BC, this is all the data I'm going to show you is 2019, just for comparison purposes. Everything has grown significantly since then. So every data point I'm about to show you has grown quite a bit since 2019, depending a bit on the area. So while there are 282 licensed grape wineries in BC, there are actually 1,049 vineyards. So again, we're targeting vineyards, not just wineries. So there are many more vineyards. In terms of what percentage of our target market that is, it really correlates with if they have a foliar sprayer. So if they're kind of at around 20 acres, they're our target market. Because they have systems in need for what we're doing. And obviously, as you scale, that demand increases. And I'll just say as well that as part of this, the latest BC industry report found that land prices for a planted acre of vines have gone up to about $400,000 Canadian. So again, there's both high demand and high cost. And BC is actually a very small market, which is exciting because it allows us to play a bit here to be protected. But actually, the actual chance for expansion is significant. BC is roughly a tenth the size of Washington, which is a fraction of the size of California. And this isn't getting into Oregon or France or Italy, other parts around the world. And all these regions have grown significantly since this data. We're talking a double-digit percentage increases in acreage, wineries, tonnage, etc. Since 2019. Here's our ideal customer. Again, I won't spend a huge amount of time, just to say that we have a good sense of who that person is right now. And I think because we have enough data to show the benefits of the product, we've moved beyond just people who are interested in innovation, but people who are willing to adopt much earlier. And this customer obviously is going to grow. I just want to quickly touch on just give you an idea of the benefit. So this is for an average non-premium winery. This is a rough estimate of kind of based on what we've seen with some of the data. And I also, one thing I can't write down, but I can share is that our first year of our research trial, again, in an operating vineyard, saw a 30% reduction in nitrogen with no change to quality, plant health, anything, which is obviously quite significant. And then also we increased the presence of the other fertilizers we used in the plant tissue, which is our measure of if it's actually being up in the plant, while reducing overall use. And therefore we also increased plant health that way. So that's all exciting. Really cool that we've got hard data to back up what we're doing, and we're continuing this research project as we speak. Let's talk sales. We kind of see a 3-pronged sale model. Obviously, direct sales, those are going mostly to vineyards of 20 to 30 acres plus. Now, those are medium size for BC. Those are small for Washington or most wine regions around the world. So what I'm calling a medium-sized vineyard of 30 acres is not a significant size. And that's kind of where we see direct sales really starting. But for smaller vineyards, they may want to lease or rent, or we would sell to a consultant or management company that they would then be interacting with to kind of target both the medium to large part of the market, and then as well the lease rent targets the smaller part of the market. And then we see a future. This is more speculative, but we have a lot of data coming in from our systems. So we're developing some AI systems for other work that we do. And so obviously there's a lot of crossover with that, with all the data we have coming in from all the soil sampling and other information we're getting from the vineyard. And I think that there's a real potential for other revenue that way and subscription model that way as well. We have a distribution, just very quickly, I'm going to say we kind of targeted 4 different areas we needed to hit, and we were able to form relationships with all 4 of those within our current region. So I think that distribution that way there's a real potential, and I think also excitement for what we're doing. We also have a really strong company presence. I won't go into a ton of detail, but we have our podcast. We have the most widely read industry newsletter that we get regular engagement on. We have a blog, webinars. We're very integrated and well-known in our industry for the work that we do and our online work, which again makes a lot of this selling easier, and as well as we expand into more international markets. So revenue, this is the funding we received to date from a number of different organizations. We actually have more funding for 2022 that we've received and will continue to apply. And we've had a very high success rate in securing funding, which has allowed us to really keep this in-house up until now. And we can continue to do so because of all that funding plus the revenue we're generating as a company. Here's our revenue model. This is currently speculative. I mean, this is in the sense that we're setting the sale price kind of relative to foliar sprayers. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, kind of at the low side of high-end foliar sprayers. I think there's going to be a lot of growth for that sale price, but that's kind of roughly where we're kind of pegging it based on our costs. And then that's the rental price, again, correlated to the BC market, which actually is a little bit cheaper than Washington, for example. So I think there's some real growth there and other opportunity for subscription costs. And also ancillary services, which would be, when you're using the Fertbox, there's a lot of other services that you can benefit from. So there's obviously, you bring in other services that way as well. And that can also be as a subscription model. Here's some revenue projections. 2024 is when we're anticipating to head into Washington, a little bit more international, and really make that push once we kind of feel we've secure everything we need to, including IP, which I'll talk about later. Now, one big question, of course, is, well, what's the competition? As I mentioned, granular and fertigation systems are not direct competition, other than the fact that that's what people are currently doing, but there is no direct competitor in terms of precision fertilization. But there is an analog, and that is foliar sprayers, which many are designed to be precise. So where we're fertilizing the ground, they're fertilizing the leaves, which, you kind of really need both. And most vineyards have a foliar sprayer. The average cost is $30,000 to $75,000. You're roughly starting at $50,000 for a decent higher tech foliar sprayer, which is again kind of where we see the Fertbox as an analog. But the really interesting thing is they're completely sold out right now, or almost completely sold out. It is very hard in many wine regions to get foliar sprayers right now, partly due to supply chain issues, but also because demand. Again, you can imagine as you're seeing decreasing yields, increasing climate pressures, as well as increasing market pull for premiumization, having more control, using less fertilizer, which have gone up in some cases 50% just this year. We're having clients who are cutting back on fertilizer because costs have gone up so much. That all of this is leading to a demand for higher quality and higher tech products that are going to give you exactly what you need so that you can start minimizing some of these other negative pressures and positive pressures in terms of a desire for a premium product. The global market for foliar sprayers is expected to, again, hit about $7.4 billion. This is actually old. I think it's supposed to be, I think that was a 2020 data, so it should be larger by now as there's a real high demand. And so we see that as a strong analog for what we're doing. So what's next? Where do we see the Fertbox moving from here beyond just growing the market? First of all, IP obviously is a really important question. We're currently going through the patent process with a lawyer. It's the algorithm and distribution system that is unique and patentable. So that's what we're currently engaged in. And there's also very much a potential for our future IP around a lot of the other modules that we're building in as we create the Fertbox 2.0 and 3.0. And lastly, this is second last slide. There's a lot of different options that we can build on, and this is kind of our initial roadmap right now. The first is a foliar sprayer, so we can actually do foliar spraying. Not only will allow us to increase the price, but make it a significant value add in that the system can now do precision foliar spraying as well, to make it a year-round product. And this is not something that's in the future. This is something we're hoping to have done for 2022, if not early 2023. It's all doable. Very simple. And then obviously you just see there's a number of other options that we're working on. And one of the exciting things is that as new tech comes out that allows you to map canopy growth, to map the soil, and other systems we're looking at, we can integrate that into the system so that we're hoping, based on other tech development, that by 2024 we'll be able to map the soil in real time and actually fertilize in real time, so that you have an input sensor capturing soil data and then we're outputting it live, which would obviously be super cool. And obviously there's more markets that we can push this product into that have a need for precision fertilization. So That's Vintality. This is the Fertbox from Vintality. So really excited. Thank you so much for your time. Always happy to answer any questions. It's chris@vintality.com. You can find us at vintality.com. And always love to hear from you, chat more, hear more. Take care.